Yes. Go ahead, Nikhil.
Basically, when we come into yesterday's class, it was about the structure of IT company and how they get into these projects. It starts from the C line, basically this which C suite, which is called the high level, cadre of the company. They come under CFO, CEO, and CTO, CHRO. So after that, when it comes to uh, we have sales and marketing team and HR, and when we come to project, we will be having two types of teams according to the type of software development cycle we are using. So when we are into waterfall model, we'll be having project managers uh, and business analysts, developers, and testers. At the same time, when we come to agile, the project managers, instead of project managers, we'll be having scrum masters who know how exactly move on with agile at any point. So basically, in SDLC, it's like chain process in it. We can't come back once we start something. And coming to agile, at any point, we could come back and we could do the changes. And business analyst role, lead also has a different name in these two software cycles. Like in SDLC, he's called as uh, give me a second, sorry. Sorry, in SDLC, the lead business analyst is called as lead business analyst, and in Agile, he's called as product owner. So this is how the roles have been divided, and it also depends how many people will be working on the certain project. So all the people will be reporting to their leads, and it is a synchronized way of approach to complete projects, and majorly large projects and projects are of different sizes. It starts from small, medium, large in all the aspects, and in some aspects there would be complex and very large projects which will be coming across, but it's very rare to see such kind of projects. Small projects would involve 500 hours, and medium would be 500 to 2000. Large would be something more than 2000. Very complex would be something even more than that, 5000, etc. So basically, coming to business analyst, he occupies the role of 20 to 25% in the almost, I mean, 100% in out of 100%, he will be having 20 to 25% of work to do in every project, because he's the one who picks up the requirements. He should be more careful, and he's supposed to do this documentation work and take insights from the clients, and every minute feedback which is provided by client should be informed to the developers and development team, or the business analyst team should be uh, intimating to the developers and testers. So minute changes also could be done accordingly. And business analysts have to keep tracking how the work is going, and everything is on time, and things are going things are going time to time. So as of now, I want to conclude with this.
Great, Nikhil. Great. So So that actually sums up your understanding as well, that even though you mentioned that you'll start with yesterday's session, but you covered a lot about even our previous sessions also. So wonderful.
Thank you, Rahul.
Okay, so we'll start with today's session. Okay, and today's session will also come up with one more assignment for you guys. So let me start sharing screen. So today's session will be focused on two parts. Okay, in next session, you will be you will be having one assignment, uh, and once that is complete, we'll start with the deep dive topics. So you'll have further case studies to look into. So we'll start with topics like how do you create a requirement document? How do you identify your stakeholders? Whom should you connect with? So once you identify stakeholders, you need to connect with those people to, get requirements. And then how do you use different elicitation techniques to write down detailed requirements? And then once you are done with requirements, how do you create functional or non-functional requirements? So once we do that, and then we'll quickly touch upon requirement traceability matrix also. How do you tie up requirements? How do you create that matrix so that you don't miss on any requirements? Then we will move on to agile way of doing work. So in agile, now requirements are there, but requirements are captured in the form of user stories. So then we will start discussing about how do you write user stories? Once you have written user stories, how do you groom that user story to your team? Once grooming is done, how the estimations are performed. Once the estimation is also done, then how do we plan for the user story execution? Like how do we pick user story for execution? Once that is also done, then you will be assigned with one case study. Okay. So you will have to create a waterfall way of doing work. That is, how do you write business requirement document? How will you identify stakeholders? And then same case study, you have to do it in the agile way. Okay. While working on agile, I'll see if I can get Jira access. I mean, it's an freeware, but I'll see if I can set up a board. And like I mentioned, when we are doing things in agile way, we'll try to do it on daily stand-up basis. So I'll give you a brief overview of agile first when we start, and then move on to how do we create user stories. So every day we'll be presenting our status, okay, like what you did yesterday, what are you planning to do today, any roadblocks or impediments that you have, so that you get an idea of when you join an IT organization that works in agile fashion, so you know pretty much like, what is expected out of you in daily stand-up, what are different scrum ceremonies that are executed. So I mean, don't consider that I'm putting you guys on spot during that session, but that is just for preparedness, so that when you get into an IT organization, you don't feel uncomfortable. Like, what is this meeting all about? What do I have to say in this meeting? Okay. Now there will be individual assignments as well. So for example, when we discuss topic like you writing user story and grooming user story, your next assignment immediately is going to be, I'll give you a scenario, create a user story, and next day when you come up, you have to consider like, I'm your developer. Okay, I have to write code. So you need to present details of your story to me. I'll be asking you questions, and then we will do estimation. Okay, so that will be like more hands-on practice, so that when you guys get into organizations, you don't feel uncomfortable that what is this? What do I have to do? Okay, so that's pretty much how it's going to be. Once I give you case, I mean our course will be over when I have given you the case study. So only when you guys have completed your case study, we'll meet up. So it's not that we have to meet together, but I would prefer that if we can meet together. Why? Because suppose Chandrabhanu has presented something on his case study. So Nikhil should also know, so that Nikhil will get idea. Nikhil would present his case study in a different way. So Chandrabhanu will get idea. Like, what are the different ways of presenting your user story? or your requirement document. Okay. So whenever you guys are ready, we'll have a final meetup where we will discuss your case study, how you did, what challenges you face. But in between, during your case study, if you have any clarification, if you require any clarification, if you have any questions, just let me know and we can meet during that time also. It's not that uh, after I give you case study, I'll be abandoning you. No, we'll require 5 to 6 sessions more. Post those 5 to 6 sessions, uh, we'll start with the case study. I think those will be good enough. We'll spend one day identifying stakeholders. I mean, 3 days in covering for waterfall and 3 days in covering for agile, and then your case study. Post case study will also help you write down your resume, like what are the relevant keywords that you can add in your resume. Now let's start with today's topic. And Nikhil, again, wonderful presentation. So good going, keep it up.
Thank you, Rahul.
Now, what you guys need to do as a BA, see some of the topics that you will encounter while studying about business analyst would be repetitive. And that's the reason why is that. See, I created this flow chart. I think it's on the other side. But let me know if you guys are not able to see this flow chart in your Google Drive. Okay. The most important part is about do's and don'ts for BAs, understanding what competencies or skills are needed in order to succeed as a BA. Okay. So what you need to, I'll write down key points based on my experience. One is listening skill. So we'll cover first the do's part, what you have to do. So listening. Okay. A lot of the time, the simple solution that you can provide to any scenario is just listen to it. If you listen to it carefully, I mean, doesn't matter whether you anticipate, you can anticipate that, whatever the person is going to say, I already know that. I have an intuition that he or she is going to ask about this thing. It doesn't matter what you anticipate or what your intuition is. It's always good to let the other person finish their ask. Okay, listen actively, listen with the purpose of I call it listen with the purpose of understanding. Listen with the purpose of understanding, that you want to understand a problem. If you just listen to a lot of the things, you will be able to solve a lot of problems. Why? When you listen well, you are able to understand the problems well. When you understand the problems well, you are able to provide solutions accordingly. Okay. So as BA, ensure that you guys develop this skill of listening. Number two is being meticulous. Now, many times people may call you that we are moving into agile world, so there's no need of writing down detail of everything. I agree with that, but what also needs to happen is that you need to be specific. So let me cover one word: be specific. Okay. So you would have heard about one of the famous stories are there that. Someone asked, that if we have to grant your wish, what would be your wish? Okay. So someone said that I want enough money. They didn't mention how much money. They just said that I want enough money. So when you say enough money and the wish was granted, that person got $10. Obviously, that person got surprised that I asked for enough money and you gave me only $10. So the reply to that was, you didn't mention enough money for what? Enough money for your life, enough money for all satisfying all your needs, wants, or enough money only to be able to have lunch today or dinner today. So that's where we remember this story and ensure that you guys are specific. Okay. When you write down requirements, you write down specifics about it. You don't just say that I want enough money. You actually quote out that my daily expenditure is $10 from food to everything. So that means my monthly expenditure becomes close to $300 and my annual expenditure becomes $3,600. Suppose if I'm going to live by the age of 85 and I'm currently 30, that means I have 55 years left. Okay. So you do those calculations. So my daily expenditure, let's say, is 10 US dollar into 30 days becomes 300 USD for 1 month. Okay. Multiply it by 12. So it becomes 3,600 USD for 1 year. Now suppose I am 30 and I have another 50 years to live. I have another 55 years to live. Then what should be my expenses? 55 into 30, sorry, 3,600 USD. And that will give me some amount. Okay. Now we are smart guys. So we'll think that, okay, why only adjust for $10? There will be inflation also, 3, 4, 5% inflation every year. So increase my annual amount by 5% inflation every year. So you'll get a different amount. Okay. So maybe adjust it by inflation. So that is how your calculation should be. So when you guys work as BA, when you listen to your client's problems and when you have to create requirements out of it, and when you are ready to write requirements, be specific about it. Okay. Don't give any blanket statements, blanket requirement, or an overview requirement. We have to be, we have to have specifics about it. Okay. Now, being meticulous doesn't mean that you have to capture everything in depth detail, but you need to mention things like what will be the scope of the project. Okay. We'll cover that when we go to BRDs and user stories. But as a BA, you need to clearly list out what is part of my project and what is not part of my project. What is it that I'm going to achieve, and you have to convey all this through requirement documents. Okay, so being meticulous means writing details like what will be scope of the project, what features will be delivered. Okay, now you have to be a good facilitator. Why a facilitator? Because a lot of your time will be spent in conducting meetings, whether external stakeholders or internal stakeholders. You'll be meeting with external parties, trying to get requirements from them. You'll also be meeting up with internal parties, your SMEs, architects, your technical people to create a solution that can fit on your requirement. So you have to be a good facilitator. And if you guys remember, we talked about, some of the basic etiquettes like setting up meeting, taking notes. Okay. Setting up a meeting means you tell in advance what your meeting is going to be about. So whenever you send a meeting invite to anyone, you have to call out what this meeting is all about. Okay. You have to keep right people, decision makers in the call. Don't invite the entire team who are simply not needed because that will be a wastage of time for a lot of people. So keep your meeting restricted only to the people who really need to attend it. Set out an agenda for your meeting. So setting up a meeting, and let me mention like it includes invite necessary individuals, set up agenda so that people already know what you are going to talk about, that it doesn't come up as surprise. Okay. And during meeting, take up notes. So remember when we went through that YouTube video and when you guys were presenting, I was taking notes. So I showed you one way of taking notes. That's not the only way. Like I said, whatever you guys feel comfortable with, make notes, but get into the habit of making notes because nowadays everything's being driven by laptop, mobile phones. So we tend to forget things. use your devices, okay, like laptop, mobile phone, or if you are an orthodox kind of person who likes to take note using pen paper, that's also fine. Get into the habit of making notes so that you don't forget things later. Okay. So as a BA, listen, capture specifics while writing down the requirements, be meticulous. That doesn't mean you have to carry out things in detail, but you capture the necessary details like scope of the project, what features will be delivered. Facilitator, since you'll be conducting a lot of meetings, so it's good to set up some of the or get into the habit of following good meeting practices, like inviting only the necessary participants, set up the agenda well in advance, take up notes, avoid setting up ad hoc meetings like you are sending a note today, you set up a meeting today evening. So people will have less time to respond. They would have already planned their work. So unless absolutely necessary, I mean, there will be times when you have to set up meetings on ad hoc basis. But the thing is, don't make it a habit that you always go about setting up meetings on ad hoc basis. Okay. And then document things. As a BA, you'll be expected to document a lot of things. So what you should be really doing is is create good documents, documents that are readable, documents that are easy to understand. Okay, don't create documents with complex terminologies that no one's able to understand. So when you are documenting things, ensure that you document your findings, analysis, or requirement, whatever it is, in a user-friendly and easy to understand way. So what would be an user-friendly and easy to understand? Create some flow charts, okay, or diagrams. Create use cases that we will see later. How do you create a use case also when we talk about writing requirements? Now, as a BA, you should definitely be doing these things. Then the one of the important things you have to have is be proactive. Okay. So, like I said, no one should, we are at a point in life where no one should come and question our intent or question our credibility. Okay. And the only way people will not question our credibility or our intent is when we are proactive. Suppose if something is going wrong with the project that you have written the requirements, but your developers are new to the team, they don't understand the system, plus they are technically not well versed. So they are having hard time writing code. And suppose you realize it and you sense a fear, sorry, you sense some danger over here that, we have to finish coding in by Friday. Today is Thursday. Sorry, let's say it's a start of the week, Monday or Tuesday. And you realize that these guys will not be able to write code by Friday. Then don't wait until Friday when the developers say that I'm not able to write code, and then you go back to customer and say that, hey, our timelines are going to change. Why? Because our developer is not able to write code. Don't wait till Friday. Be proactive. Inform the customer beforehand itself. Okay. Tell the customer that, hey, we are facing some technical issues on our end. Be diplomatic. Okay. So we are facing some technical issues on our end. Our developers are trying hard to fix it, and we'll be ready with the changes. I mean, we are planning to be ready by Friday, but there are chances that it may go beyond Friday. In any case, we will try to keep the project on schedule as agreed. So that way they are well aware that there is a chance of this getting delayed, but then you guys are also trying to do everything possible to keep it on target. Okay. So that way, that's how you build trust. When you are proactive in your communication, when you don't hesitate that, this will, why should I go and tell anything to customer? This may bring a bad name to us. It doesn't matter. You go and be open about it. The only thing is that you don't try and hide things. Okay. Go actively communicate, but then don't communicate like, the developer is idiot, or he or she is technically not well versed and we are facing some issues, so it may take some time. Don't say all these things, because they are also part of your team. Client is giving the work, representative of client, but at the end, developer and testers are part of your team only. So we all work as one team. So whenever you go out in communication, use we, that we are working on. We will resolve the issue. Now, if you guys just follow these practices, it doesn't matter which project you are working on, you'll be able to, gain good respect, and you'll be able to deliver your work. What are some of the don'ts? And these could be very tricky, okay? So, getting into an argument. It happens when we are human beings. So if someone is scolding us, and what do, you try to retaliate. You try to teach the other person a lesson that I'm getting scolded. You're not paying for it. I'm not your slave. But it's not about, being a slave to someone, or you are not paying to me, but it's also about accepting your mistakes. Okay. So never get into an argument. Try to be as much diplomatic as you can, and just listen. Sometimes if someone's scolding you, the best response you can give to that person is listening. Listen to their problems, like why are they so much agonized, what's causing the agony, and then once you listen in, you can provide the solution. Second thing is, don't overcommit. Okay. See, remember that as a BA, you are just one part of the entire software development life cycle. Okay. You guys are writing requirement. You have a team. Once you write your requirements, there is a team of developers who will write code based on your requirement. There is a team of testers who will test the code written by a developer. Once testing is also complete, then only you present it to customers. So there's an entire team of people that works. So whenever a customer asks you that, hey, I want to change this requirement, or I want to add a new requirement, can you do it? Then don't overcommit without consulting your team. Unless you know that it's a small work, because you come from a technical background, or you already know that it will hardly take 2, 3 hours of effort, we'll have that much of bandwidth, so we can definitely commit. But on normal days, try to have a conversation with your team, try to get their view as well, whether they'll be able to accommodate or not, because there's no point in you committing to the customer that, yeah, we will add new requirement and we will get this done. But when you go back to your development team says that, no, you committed, you do it. I did not commit anything, so why will I do it? It will take a lot more time than what you think. So we don't want to get into that spot. So that's why don't take individual decisions, meaning don't overcome it. Talk to your team, understand what their expectations are as well, and then go back and communicate to customer accordingly, whether you'll be able to take it or not. Sometimes, the team also wants to get lazy, that they just don't want to take up new work because they want to take some rest. Okay. So what you do in those cases, you try and convince your team to take up the work maybe for next sprint, if not this sprint. And then you go back to the customer and say that we will get this work done, but considering the complexity of this work, it will not be done in this sprint. It will be done by next week or the week after next week. Okay. So don't get into an argument with customers. Don't overcome it, or I would say, don't take individual decisions. Okay, we all are working as team, so involve your team and then take decisions accordingly. Okay, then the most important thing is, don't leave any ask slash requirement open for ambiguity. Okay, as a BA, your requirement should not be open for multiple interpretations. Suppose if I as a developer read your requirement, or whether I as a tester read your requirement, or customer, we all should come to the same conclusion. If you are leaving your requirements, if you are writing vague requirements, if you are leaving your requirements open for ambiguity, then it leads to difference of opinion. Okay. Even if you see that people are reading your requirements and interpreting in a different way, then also it's better to have a meeting, understand from them what they are understanding out of it, and then try to resolve it. Okay. Don't think that people will read down the requirement document and they will understand everything. Okay. Ensure that nothing is left open for multiple interpretations. So that's why we are not leaving anything for ambiguity.
Rahul, I have a doubt here.
Yes.
So basically, whenever a customer tries to give his requirements, do they also tend to provide a document to us by noting everything, or it's like they just come onto the calls and then they say something we are the someone who has to write it up and document it?
So sometimes, Nikhil, what happens is some of the customers are good. They themselves like to maintain documentations. So they will create their mission document, like what they want to achieve, and how do they think this feature will help them acquire more customers, or whatever could be the outcome. But some people, they'll come up to you and give you the requirements verbally, that through meetings, face-to-face meetings, or through virtual meetings, they'll give you the requirements verbally. And then you are
I
supposed to write down the requirements.
From my previous experiences from the part times, at least from the part times, though these are not professional jobs, I could see that when things go verbally and they try to say something, they kind of change the scenario in a situation that they play the victim role, and they tend to say that they have mentioned everything. That's but it's we who didn't look at that point.
Exactly, and that will happen. But that was the case when the customer was directly talking with developers, because developers are least worried about creating documents. They just want to get started with coding, and customers don't want to create documents either. So that's where you as business analyst in between will help, because whatever customer will say, you will listen, you will note it down, you will document it. And once you document it, you will again go back to customer asking, see, this is what we discussed, this is what I captured. Do you agree
Okay.
with it? Or do you have any recommendations? Or do you have
Mhm.
any feedback or suggestions? If the customer doesn't provide any feedback or suggestion, they say we are okay with it, then you take that requirement document and share it with your developer to code. When developer has created code and customer doesn't agree with it, that no, this doesn't fulfill my requirement, that's when you as BA will come into picture and say that this is working as per the requirement. See this mail? I created this document, sent you mail. You told me that it is all good.
Yeah,
So now if you want new things, so that's where you
you
as
had a
BA
PM.
will, yeah, you will document. So when I say document, you will not only document the requirements, but you will also document the customer sign-offs, customer interactions, keep track of customer interactions, so that whenever
Mhm.
need comes, I mean, you don't have to fight with customer, but you have to politely tell them that this is what we agreed upon, and this is what you provided your approval on, and this is what we did. Now, if you're asking for something, that's a change at this point. And again, I'll have to go back to my team, check with them on when can they implement this new change.
It's I'm like I kind of seen situations where I have mailed to few people. It's regarding a trip. Though I tried to mention things very clearly and tried to put the questions in point wise and ask them like yes or no. Still, they didn't understand me, and they were like, "I wrote your mail for 2 to 3 times, and I didn't get you." I'm like it's a different country. So I was thinking that the person is trying to literally translate what I'm sending from English to a different language, and he doesn't get it. So I feel like even I'm like if the small things can be interpreted in a proper way when it comes to a project and it's a job, then it would be difficult to do things.
Absolutely true. But that's where your leaders will also help you. If you face any issue, being proactive, you will tell them that, hey, uh, I sent out a requirement document to the customer. They are not responding, or they are not understanding what I am trying to say. So, is there anything that I can do to improve or make my document more readable? Or is there anything that, if you feel that my documents are all correct, they are already readable, but the customer is not responding. So can you do something to reach out to your counterparts from customer side and get them a response? Because like I said, you are the mediator between your development team and customer. Anything that goes back and forth is through you only. So you have to use all means necessary. There will be, like, for example, we follow tools. So we follow Confluence tool. So we write down requirements on Confluence tool, and the customer has to mandatorily come and approve. So we worked internally first through our IT team that sending mails can sometimes lose track of what we are doing. So we will write down the requirements. Now, once we write down the requirements, we will add the approvers. Okay, who can approve from client side? The client team needs to go and review our requirement that we have written on Confluence, and then either ask for more questions, clarifications, or if they don't have any question clarification, then they should approve the requirement. Only approved requirements will be shared with the team for further work. So sometimes it's an opportunity for you to improve the process that we are doing through emails. So let's incorporate a proper tool that can capture requirements. Sometimes you'll have to take your seniors' help and build a process. So when we started 10 years back, we didn't have any process. So it will be a challenge because sometimes customers have a specific way of doing work, and you have to prepare a nice PPT of why they should adhere to a new process, how that process will benefit them. And not only that, you will also have to, sometimes you feel that, people are not convinced by your words. You have to take help of your seniors, that why don't you guys go and talk to the senior management from customer side? But these challenges every time will teach you something. Either we are not doing the work in the right way, or we are not communicating well, or there's some gap or delay that's happening, or some information is being missed. Whatever could be the you'll definitely understand something.
Okay, Rahul.
And one more don't is, don't miss on timeline. Okay. So you are the face of the organization. So maximum scoldings will be given to you only. If customer is unhappy, angry, anguish about anything, remember you are the scapegoat. So they'll deliver maximum thrashings to you only. So that's where it becomes your kind of responsibility, that you don't have to individually push people, that you don't have to micromanage people. But like I said, you have to be just proactive. Get information out of them, that where they are with the work, when they are planning to finish up the work, but at the same time keep motivating them, keep pushing them, that just finish the work on time, so that they finish the work on time, and then the customer is happy, so that you can get more work out of the customer. Any questions so far? Okay, so if no question,
No, Rahul, everything all right. I mean, like,
okay.
it would really
Mm-hmm.
help if you could show some real-time kind of examples of how you keep the mail threads. I'm like, even the mail thread, this mail thread thing, we never worked in IT environment, to be honest. We just completed our bachelor's and master's, and we didn't have any IT experience, so we really doesn't know how it actually works. So if you share some kind of, I mean, like teams, how you approach in teams with people, because most of the times I see my friends who are working, they kind of get this info from teams all the time. They kind of communicate with everyone in teams. So please show us how it works, and the mail thread thing, because mail threads get messed up sometimes. Even though you're maintaining a proper thread, uh, instead of replying to a particular message, if you just reply in a different way, it seems like we miss
Yep,
somewhere. I mean,
and
like,
that's where actually what is happening is nowadays a lot of things are driven by tools. So there's a requirement management tool. Okay,
okay,
so that you drive your conversations over there. This is something similar to your how the social media platform works. You post something, people add comments, you reply to their comments, edit your post. So tools like IBM offers Rec Pro. Then nowadays one of the popular tools is Confluence. Okay, so what happens in Confluence or Rec Pro is you write down your requirements there. Sometimes you write down your requirements in a Word document, and that we will see the Word document in from next week onwards. And then you attach that Word document to your requirement management tool. Earlier, most of the companies were handling it uh, like create a Word document, store it somewhere, and then manually keep track of the work. But that becomes that comes with too much of hassles. Okay, if I have a requirement management tool, I know I can keep creating new versions. Suppose if today Nikhil created a document, tomorrow if Nikhil resigns and leaves, and Chandrabhanu joins. Now Chandrabhanu doesn't even know what document Nikhil was creating. Where is that document? So he may end up creating his own document.
yes,
Okay, so in order to avoid all those things, nowadays most of the IT companies are switching to some or the other requirement management tool. Okay, why did I mention Confluence? Because it is one of the open source ones. So basically, it means it's available for free. Some of the features are available for free. Some more advanced features can be bought by paying for the license. But that act as a single source of truth. Single source of truth. So you mention everything over there. Okay. You don't have to maintain multiple documents. So nowadays, everything acts as uh, this through requirement management tool. So even if suppose I create a document, a Word document, I upload it to the Confluence. What will happen tomorrow? Nikhil resigns, Chandrabhanu comes, he'll log into Confluence. He will see, look for the relevant requirement. He will download the Word document, add a new requirement in it, and then upload the Word document again. So with that, I am maintaining a single source of truth or single point of entry for all the requirements. Now, project related emails, suppose if you started an email chain or uh, if you are working back and forth with your developers. So any project related documents, be it emails or let's say notes or design documents or test documents, whatever these guys are testing. So test documents. So all these for that we have, I mean, most of the people use Microsoft SharePoint. Okay. So SharePoint is like an online cloud storage. So where you can create a folder, you can give access to your entire team and your team can upload their documents over there. Okay. So you can that way you if suppose if I am starting with sprint one document now. Suppose if I'm into sprint one, I can create a folder named sprint one for my team. All my team will upload sprint one related documents, whatever story they are working on, under sprint one folder. Similarly, when we move on to next sprint, I can create another folder sprint two. So that way, now my other documents, other than my requirement documents, they all sit in a common SharePoint. So whenever suppose I have to go back and see what did I work on sprint one, I can simply click on sprint one folder and look for the relevant documents. If I have to see what did I implement on sprint 10, I can click on sprint 10 folder and look for the document around it. So in order to avoid lot of back and forth nowadays, these are some of the common tools that people are using. So
Yeah,
you won't
definitely.
find
Definitely, we
multiple.
need this kind of documentation because I have seen my friends, they never give a proper, I mean, like attention to the meetings all the time. They just kind of yeah, keep chatting during the meetings with us, or kind of things that happen.
Yeah, Microsoft Teams is like one of the distractions. So I would suggest that if you go into a meeting where you are one of the necessary participants, then at all points avoid chatting. So Microsoft Teams is good to get quick response. Suppose you have a roommate, okay?
Okay.
What will you do? Will you send your roommate an email to get some information, or will you just go into their room and ask for some information? So Microsoft Teams is like that. So instead of sending emails, waiting for their reply, if you have certain doubt or clarification, you can ping them
Okay.
and probably get a quicker response. So that's how Teams should be used to get response quickly. Then to talk to people, obviously you don't want to use your phone and recharge and bills for making audio or video calls. And sometimes, when you are going through meetings, you can even record those meetings along with screen. So that way, whenever you have to go back and recall what was discussed, you can go through your recordings. So that way, Teams is pretty helpful, but should only be used for its purpose. Nowadays, what Microsoft did is Microsoft integrated their SharePoint into Teams, which means whatever SharePoint you create, that will be accessible through Microsoft Teams. That means within Teams itself, you can access your sprint folders, where you store, how you store data. Now we'll
Okay.
cover one final topic. We'll go through these tools as well during the course. So we'll go through one of the ALM tool as well, that is Agile Lifecycle Management tool, and that is nowadays the most popular one, Jira. Okay. So how do you track the execution of a work using Jira? So for writing requirements, you have written through Confluence, you have stored documents in your Microsoft SharePoint. Now you want to track the progress of your work, whether you are writing requirements, whether you are creating designs, or whether you are creating code, whatever be the case, you want to track the progress of the work, and you want to track the interdependency. Suppose if your work is dependent on some other work. So for maintaining those dependencies and tracking the progress of your work, we use Jira. So we will go through that tool as well. Now, one final topic for the day, project failure reasons. Why do projects fail? So one is if they are executed in hurry. So sometimes you'll find people saying this project hurried, this project hurried. Okay. So suppose you are working on aggressive timelines is different than working hurriedly in a project. So what means is sometimes client comes up to you and say that, hey, I want this requirement and I want it to be done by tomorrow. Now, if you are doing this thing by tomorrow, and suppose if client somehow gets approvals also, so we have worked on these things, that client identified a defect and they said that fix this defect by tomorrow, else we will have to pay some penalty. Now, in such cases, there's no way you can say no because it's about penalty. So the client will directly say that either you pay the penalty and then I am okay with you fixing the defect 1 week later. Whenever you hurry on to solving anything, chances are that you will miss something. Either you will not be able to write down requirements properly, either your code will have some issue, either your testing will not be done thoroughly. There will be some or the other issue. So since why I'm giving three different examples of requirement, code, and test, because these three people together constitute towards the product. Okay, so whenever you hurry on to something, so you as BA need to convince the customer that agree on a relevant timeline. I mean, don't work on a laid back attitude that okay, if it takes 1 day, we will take 1 week to fix it. No, but tell the customer in order to maintain the utmost quality, instead of 1 day, if it is something that can be postponed, we would like to have 2 days or 3 days to fix it. But don't worry, we will not take more than 3 days. Okay, and like I said, for overcommit, don't commit unless you talk to your team. So even if customer reports some issue and they want you to be fixed immediately, talk to your team, get a timeline from them, and then go and talk to customer. That in order to maintain the utmost quality, because we want things to repeat again. So in order to maintain the quality, we will. This is the timeline we have to agree. Otherwise, what will happen if you keep on saying that no, no, this needs to be implemented immediately? If you hurry on to things, for sure there will be some mistakes. Okay, and this is generally going to happen. I'm not saying that right from your first project till the last project, everything will go on smoothly. No, even till date, even after 13 years of experience, there are sometimes, mistakes do happen. You miss on things, but then you learn from things. Okay. Then the next part is improper documentation. That you have written a requirement, you missed a certain requirement. Client gave you 10 requirements, requirement one, two, three, like that. Client gave you 10 requirements. You wrote down only 8 requirements. Okay, and no one noticed. The client also didn't notice. So now you implemented 8 requirements in production, two are missing. So things are now not so well. Client is complaining, where are my other two requirements? So if you go documentation wise, you can tell the client that, hey, even though you would have shared 10 requirements with me, I wrote down only 8 in my document. And when I shared the document with you, you gave your approval that these are the ones that I need. So how will I know that I'm missing those two? Okay, so I mean, you can certainly save yourself if you follow these, if you're documenting things in a proper way, but that will not solve the business goal. Okay, so saving yourself and solving the business goals are two different problems, two different things. So, as much as possible, whenever you encounter any problem or any challenge, ensure that you identify the correct solution for it as well. Okay, so that means correct your documentation, go through recordings, like I said, Microsoft Teams or other communication channel that you'll be using, they will have a recording feature. So go through recording multiple times, ensure that at least you don't miss out on anything. Okay, if you don't miss out, chances are your documentation will be proper. If your documentation is proper, there is a good chance of implementing the right product in for the customer. So that's why I keep saying take proper notes. Uh, as much as possible, record your meetings, especially if it is about gathering requirements, then record those meetings. And some of the reasons that, guys, I won't be covering, but I'll just mention. are not related to BA as such, but these are more from an execution standpoint. Since a BA is not responsible for execution, like how you write code or how you write how you execute your test cases, but uh, things like improper staffing. So you have, suppose you need two developers and one tester, but you only onboarded one developer and one tester. So you are running short of a developer, but still you are trying to get the work done. So again, that's not a BA's responsibility to ensure that right number of people are there. But it's good to know that if you are understaffed or overstaffed, or if your team lacks certain skills, it's good to bring it to your management attention that hey, the team that I'm working with, they lack technical knowledge. So why don't you guys arrange for some training sessions for these guys that they can improve on their technical knowledge? Or that we are understaffed. We need at least three developers. Currently, we are working with only one developer. So there is a chance that we may miss on our promised timelines. So these are the things that you should be aware of, but you don't have a direct involvement over there. Okay, understaffing, lack of skills, improper staffing slash lack of skills. So aware of it, report it, and ensure that some action is taken around it. Any questions so far?
No, Rahul.
So these three are like the broader categories, and you can attribute almost all failure reasons under one of these three categories, that we executed the project hurriedly, or there was lack of skills, improper staffing, or there's lack of documentation or improper documentation. Sometimes people call it as lack of knowledge in the entire team itself. Now, there will be one assignment for you guys. So you guys are already going to prepare a sheet. I mean, prepare for your presentation next Wednesday. Now you have an option. Okay, take any project for example. Uh, you guys have heard about social media platform that Google launched, Orkut.
Sorry, what is it about?
Google launched a product called Orkut. I mean, this was done long back.
Orkut, yeah, Orkut was pretty famous before Facebook, but everyone thought Orkut would be doing good. It was in the time before Facebook, yeah. It went
Yeah,
down.
it went down. So do some Googling, try to identify what you can find out why it failed. Okay, I'm just giving you an example. Like Google launched a product, it failed. You can find for some other failed products as well why they failed. So the basic idea is to identify why a particular product failed. And then we will discuss it during next class. So next class, you have two options. One, prepare a topic of your own that you would like to present, or two, prepare this failure reason. So either you can research on Google product output being failed, or you can look for your own product or look for a different product that failed. So either of the two. If you prepare for both, then also I'm fine. Like you prepare a presentation on your own topic plus this project failure reason, or either one of them, but at least one has to come up.
Sure, sure.
Okay,
Rahul.
Rao.
Okay.
Rahul, once you end the recording, I have something to speak about. I would like if you finish the class. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll stop recording. But guys, ensure that this project failure, or let's do this. The project failure has to be documented. So this is, let's make this mandatory, that you have to document this project failure in your next class. And the other topic presentation, any topic that you are comfortable with, that becomes optional. So you have to present a product that has failed, why it failed, what reasons could you find out by Googling it, and then we will discuss what could have been improved. And the next topic, about any topic of your choice, that's optional, that's up to you. So I'll stop sharing and stop recording.